Welcome back to the Stata 101 YouTube channel, where I'm sharing the things that I wish I knew when I first started coding in Stata. Chatgpt did not exist when I first started working with Stata. However, the options it has thus far provided are, in my opinion, remarkable and even a game changer, especially for new Stata users. So far, I've tested a few functions that Chatgpt can do that can support any beginner in Stata. Usually, when someone has a problem with their Stata code or they're unsure of how to do something in Stata, rather than submitting your question to the Stata forum or Stack Overflow, which can be really helpful in some cases, you can attempt to find your solution with Chatgpt, which, unlike these forums, have no rules, no explicit rules with how you can pose your question. When using Stata forum, it's always important to check the rules before posting, which I myself have mistakenly overlooked when trying to resolve my own Stata issues. Now, let's just have a quick look at Chatgpt and some Stata questions I've asked. I started with, what command in Stata will allow one to see all of the free data sets? And it correctly gives me this code of sysusedir. And if you type that in, your Stata output will look like this. However, it then goes on to say that if you would like to use some of the sample data sets, that you'd simply type use auto, for example, and that data set will appear. However, if you would just type in use auto, nothing would happen. You would have to type in sysuse auto. So this is one example where you can't really just count on this code output to be inherently correct or transferable to your Stata file. I then asked a still simple question, but a little more complex. I asked if I wanted to evaluate the relationship between a college graduate and hours worked per week in the dataset NLSW88.dta. What would be the best statistical technique to use in Stata? And this is one of the free Stata data sets that it listed before. So it says to use a normal regression with hours worked as the dependent variable and college graduate, this binary variable, as the independent or predictor variable. Now this, I could agree with this. This is one way that you could test this relationship. However, the code won't necessarily work. Even though it's a publicly available data set, you would still need to adjust the code to match the variables that are in this data set. So, wait, before I do that, I have to use the NLSW data. So sysuse NLSW88.dta. And then I just took this code and threw it in there, it wouldn't work because hours worked, hours is just called hours, and college grad is call grad. So just be aware of that. Even if you're using the free data sets, you still can't just necessarily, tell Chatgpt to do something. Now the code successfully worked. I asked what is the dependent variable in this example, and Chatgpt correctly states that hours worked is the dependent variable. I asked, does a normal regression make sense when hours worked per week is numeric and college graduate is a binary variable? I asked this question because sometimes if you prompt Stata, or when you prompt Chatgpt that its answer might be incorrect, it can fold and just agree with you as the user. However, it's stuck with its original answer that a normal regression analysis is an appropriate method because in this case, hours worked is a numeric variable and college grad is binary. I further asked it, what if I wanted to look at the relationship of living in the South to being a college graduate? And it suggests that I use the tab function. And I even just threw in the Stata output to Chatgpt to see how it would respond. And it correctly explains this very simple tabulated output. I asked what the chi-squared analysis would produce, and it further goes on to that level of what we could expect to see with if we would tabulate with the chi-squared function as well. Finally, I asked probably a critical question. Is Stata better than R? Make a table of the response. Chatgpt is always very neutral. It reminds us that it's an AI language model and cannot make subjective judgments. However, it still summarized some key differences with Stata and R. The user interface, for example, is a graphical user face with point and click functionality, while as R is not. The data management is very easy to clean in Stata, where in R they say it's less intuitive. I would definitely agree with that. There are good straightforward analyses in Stata, whereas there are really a large number of user contributed packages, very true in R, and it's perhaps better for more complex analyses. I don't know, Stata's pretty awesome for complex analyses in my opinion. The graphics are high quality, publication ready graphics, completely agree in Stata with minimal coding. I would disagree. If you've seen my previous videos, you know that I think you should code your own graphs in Stata. R also produces high quality graphics, but requires more coding. I agree. Even when you code your own graphs in Stata, R does require more coding. Anyways, this was just an interesting little exercise to look at how you can optimize your code and your sort of easier questions that you have with Stata. Despite the current limitations with Chatgpt, I think it really provides a whole new world for handling problem solving. And I wouldn't be surprised if Stata would ultimately, provide an extension to Chatgpt or other AI in the future. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. If you found this video useful, please feel free to like and subscribe. That would be the best way to support this channel. And additionally, if you have any insights, please feel free to drop a comment.